I want you to imagine for a moment that you're watching your marriage slowly fall apart. Not because of some dramatic affair or massive betrayal, but because of small mistakes you're making every single day without even realizing it. You think you're being a good partner. You think you're doing everything right. But behind the scenes, these tiny errors are building up like cracks in a foundation. And one day you'll wake up and wonder why everything collapsed when you never saw it coming. Here's the brutal truth that nobody wants to admit. Most marriages don't fail because of one big catastrophic event. They fail because of patterns. Small, repeated mistakes that seem harmless at first but slowly poison everything you've built together. And the worst part? You're probably making at least 3 of these mistakes right now and calling it normal. I've been married for over 30 years. I've watched countless couples around me divorce. And I can tell you with absolute certainty that the marriages that failed and the marriages that survived had one key difference. The couples who made it were willing to recognize their mistakes and change them. The couples who didn't just kept repeating the same destructive patterns until there was nothing left to save. So today, I'm going to walk you through the 10 most damaging mistakes you're probably making in your marriage right now. These aren't obvious things like cheating or lying. These are the subtle, everyday behaviors that are killing your relationship while you're convinced everything's fine. And if you can recognize even one of these in yourself and fix it, you might just save your marriage before it's too late. Let's get into it. The first mistake, and this is the one I see destroying more marriages than anything else, is assuming your partner knows you love them. You've been together for years, you got married, you live in the same house, you share a life. Obviously, they know you love them, right? Wrong. Completely wrong. Love is not something you prove once and then forget about. It's not a box you tick on your wedding day and move on. Love needs to be shown, demonstrated, reinforced, constantly. And when you stop doing that, when you assume they just know, you're slowly starving your relationship. Think about it like this. You wouldn't assume your plants know you water them, so you just stop watering them and expect them to survive on past waterings. That's insane. But that's exactly what you're doing with your partner. You showed them love when you were dating. You made effort during the engagement. You were attentive in the early years, and then you stopped because you thought, well, we're married now, they know. Here's what's actually happening. Your partner is sitting there wondering if you even still like them. They're watching you put more effort into your phone, your friends, your hobbies than you put into them. And they're starting to feel like you settled, like they're just convenient, like you're only still there out of obligation. I made this mistake early in my marriage. I stopped saying I love you because I thought my wife knew. I stopped planning dates because we were already together. What's the point? I stopped complimenting her because I'd already told her she was beautiful 1,000 times. And slowly, she started to feel invisible. It wasn't until she broke down one night and told me she felt like I didn't even see her anymore that I realized what I'd done. From that day forward, I made it a rule. Tell her I love her every day. Compliment her regularly. Plan time together. Show her. Don't just assume she knows. Your partner needs to feel loved, not just believe they are loved in theory. So if you can't remember the last time you actually demonstrated your love, you're making this mistake right now. Fix it today. The second mistake is keeping secrets, even small ones. And before you say, I don't keep secrets from my partner, let me ask you this. Have you ever hidden a purchase, deleted a text message you didn't want them to see, failed to mention you grabbed lunch with someone, downplayed how much something cost? Those are secrets. And every single one of them is eroding the trust in your relationship. Here's the thing about secrets. They create distance. When you're hiding something, no matter how small, you can't be fully present with your partner. There's always this tiny part of you that's holding back, protecting the secret, making sure you don't slip up. And your partner can feel it. They might not know exactly what you're hiding, but they can sense that something's off. And that feeling breeds suspicion, insecurity, and resentment. I'm not saying you need to share every single thought that crosses your mind. You're allowed to have privacy. But there's a massive difference between privacy and secrecy. Privacy is needing time alone. Secrecy is hiding what you spent money on. Privacy is not sharing every detail of your day. Secrecy is not mentioning you met up with an ex-colleague. Privacy is healthy. Secrecy is toxic. The rule I follow is simple. If I wouldn't be comfortable with my wife knowing about it, I probably shouldn't be doing it. And if I am doing it, I should tell her about it before she finds out some other way. Because here's the brutal reality. Secrets always come out eventually. Always. And when they do, the damage isn't just about what you hid. It's about the lying, the deception, the broken trust. Save yourself the pain and stop keeping secrets now. The third mistake is criticism disguised as help. You tell yourself you're just trying to make your partner better. You're pointing out their flaws because you care. You're suggesting improvements because you want them to succeed. But what you're actually doing is chipping away at their confidence and making them feel like they're never good enough for you. There's a huge difference between constructive feedback and constant criticism. Constructive feedback is, "Hey, I noticed you seemed stressed about that project. Do you want to talk through it?" Criticism is, "You always get stressed about work. You need to learn to manage your time better." See the difference? One is supportive, the other is an attack. And when you criticize your partner regularly, when you point out their mistakes, their weight gain, their career struggles, their parenting choices, you're not helping them improve. You're making them feel inadequate. I used to do this to my wife all the time. I'd criticize how she loaded the dishwasher, how she handled the kids, how she managed her schedule. I thought I was being helpful. In reality, I was being a controlling jerk who was destroying her self-esteem. And the worst part is, my criticism didn't even work. She didn't improve. She just started hiding things from me and resenting me. It wasn't until I stopped criticizing and started appreciating that things changed. Now, when I notice something I don't agree with, I ask myself, does this actually matter? Is this worth damaging my relationship over? Most of the time, the answer is no. And if it does matter, I bring it up once, kindly, without making it about their character or worth. Your partner is not a project for you to fix. They're a person who deserves to feel accepted and valued. Stop criticizing and start appreciating, or watch them slowly pull away from you. The fourth mistake, and this one's sneaky, is comparing your relationship to others. You see your friends who seem so happy on social media. You watch couples in movies who never fight. You hear stories about romantic gestures other people's partners do. And suddenly, your relationship feels lacking. Your partner doesn't measure up. Your marriage isn't exciting enough, and you start to resent what you have because you're measuring it against a fantasy. Here's the truth. You have no idea what's really happening in other people's marriages. That couple, who looks perfect on Instagram, they might be fighting constantly behind closed doors. That friend whose husband is always buying her gifts, he might be neglecting her emotionally. That movie romance? It's fiction written by screenwriters, not reality. When you compare your relationship to others, you're comparing your behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel. And that's not just unfair, it's destructive. I spent years thinking my marriage wasn't romantic enough because I wasn't doing grand gestures like I saw in films. My wife didn't get flowers delivered to her office. We didn't have candlelit dinners on the beach. We just had normal life, bills, kids, work stress. And I convinced myself we were failing. It took me way too long to realize that those quiet moments, the inside jokes, the teamwork, the comfortable silence, that was our romance. It wasn't flashy, but it was real, and it was ours. Every relationship is different. What works for others might not work for you, and that's okay. Stop measuring your marriage against impossible standards and start appreciating what you actually have. Because the grass isn't greener on the other side. It's greener where you water it. The fifth mistake is using silent treatment as a weapon. You get angry, so you shut down. You stop talking. You give one-word answers. You ice your partner out until they apologize or beg you to communicate. You think you're protecting yourself or making a point, but what you're actually doing is emotional abuse. Yes, I said it. Silent treatment is a form of emotional manipulation and abuse. It's punishing your partner by withdrawing affection and communication. It's making them feel isolated and anxious until they cave to your demands. And it's one of the most destructive patterns you can create in a marriage. When you use silent treatment, you're teaching your partner that conflict means abandonment. You're showing them that when things get hard, you disappear. And over time, they'll stop feeling safe with you. They'll stop opening up. They'll stop trying to resolve issues because they know you'll just shut down anyway. I used to be the king of silent treatment. When my wife did something that upset me, I'd go quiet for days. I'd punish her with my silence, convinced I was in the right. All I was actually doing was creating an environment where honest communication was impossible. The shift happened when my wife finally told me, "I can't fight your silence. I can fight your words, but I can't fight nothing." That hit me hard. I realized I was making it impossible for us to actually resolve anything. Now when I'm angry, I tell her I need time to cool down, but I give her a time frame. I need an hour to process this, and then we'll talk. That's not silent treatment. That's healthy boundary setting. If you're using silence to punish your partner, stop immediately. Learn to communicate even when you're upset, or accept that you're slowly killing your relationship. The sixth mistake is neglecting physical intimacy and pretending it doesn't matter. You're tired, you're stressed, you're not in the mood. There's always an excuse. And slowly, weeks turn into months, months turn into years, and you realize you and your partner barely touch anymore. And you tell yourself it's fine. Physical stuff isn't that important. You love each other in other ways. But deep down, you both feel the distance. Physical intimacy isn't just about sex, though that's part of it. It's about touch, closeness, the physical connection that separates your relationship from every other relationship in your life. When you stop touching your partner, when you stop being intimate, you're turning your marriage into a friendship. And friendships don't require the same level of commitment, sacrifice, and exclusivity that marriages do. Your partner needs to feel desired, wanted, attractive to you. When you neglect physical intimacy, you're telling them, "I don't want you that way anymore." And eventually, they'll either accept a life without passion and resent you for it, or they'll find someone who does make them feel wanted. I'm not saying you need to force yourself to be intimate when you genuinely don't want to. But I am saying you need to examine why you don't want to. Is it medical? Get it checked. Is it stress? Find ways to manage it. Is it resentment? Address it. Is it just laziness? Fix it. Make physical intimacy a priority again. Schedule it if you have to. Have honest conversations about what you both need. Try new things. Make an effort. Because a marriage without physical connection is a marriage that's one step away from ending. The seventh mistake, and this one destroys marriages faster than almost anything else, is bringing other people into your conflicts. You fight with your partner, so you call your mom and complain. You vent to your friends about how terrible your spouse is. You post cryptic messages on social media about being unappreciated. You think you're just getting support, but what you're actually doing is poisoning your relationship. Here's why this is so damaging. When you complain about your partner to others, you're only giving them one side of the story, your side. The side where you're the victim and your partner is the villain. And your friends and family, because they love you, will take your side. They'll validate your complaints. They'll agree that your partner is being unreasonable. And now you've created an army of people who think badly of your spouse. But here's the problem. You'll forgive your partner. You'll move past the fight. You'll remember all the good things about them. But your mom, your best friend, they'll remember every complaint you made. They'll hold on to that negative view of your partner. And slowly, they'll start to disrespect your marriage and encourage you to leave. I learned this lesson the hard way. Early in my marriage, I'd complain to my parents whenever my wife and I fought. And they started to genuinely dislike her. They thought she was treating me badly because that's all they heard about. It created tension that lasted for years. Now I have a rule. I don't involve others in my marriage conflicts unless it's a professional counselor or therapist. I don't complain to friends or family. I don't post about it online. I work it out with my wife directly. If you want to save your marriage, stop telling everyone else about your problems and start solving them with your partner. The eighth mistake is treating your marriage like it's at the bottom of your priority list. Work comes first. Kids come first. Friends, hobbies, social media, they all get your time and energy. And your marriage? It gets whatever's left over, which is usually nothing. You tell yourself that your partner understands. They know you're busy. They know you have responsibilities. But what they actually know is that they're not important enough to you to make time for. And that realization is killing your relationship. Here's a harsh truth. If you don't prioritize your marriage, it will fail. Not maybe, not possibly. It will fail. Because a relationship that isn't nurtured, that isn't given time and attention, will wither, and die. That's not dramatic. That's just reality. Think about it. You wouldn't ignore your job for months and expect to still have it. You wouldn't never spend time with your kids and expect to have a relationship with them. Why do you think you can ignore your partner and still have a healthy marriage? I get it. Life is demanding. Work is stressful. Kids need attention. But your marriage needs to be a priority, not an afterthought. That means scheduling date nights and actually keeping them. It means putting your phone down when your partner is talking to you. It means sometimes choosing your spouse over your friends or your hobbies. It means making time for the relationship even when you're exhausted. Because the alternative is waking up one day, realizing you're living with a stranger and wondering how it got this bad. Prioritize your marriage now, before it's too late. The 9th mistake is refusing to get help when you need it. Your marriage is struggling. The fights are getting worse. The distance is growing. And instead of seeking help, you just keep trying to fix it yourselves. You convince yourself that going to counseling means you've failed, that asking for help is weak, that you should be able to figure this out on your own. That pride is destroying your marriage. Here's the truth. Going to counseling doesn't mean your marriage is failing. It means you care enough to fight for it. Some of the strongest marriages I know have been through therapy. Some of the happiest couples I know got help when they needed it, and they're better for it. But too many couples wait until it's too late. They wait until they hate each other. They wait until they're already considering divorce. And then they go to counseling expecting a miracle. Therapy works best when you go early, when the problems are still manageable, when you both still want to fix things. My wife and I went to counseling about 10 years into our marriage. We weren't in crisis, but we kept having the same fights and couldn't break the pattern. Going to therapy was one of the best decisions we ever made. We learned to communicate better. We understood each other's perspectives. We broke destructive cycles. And our marriage is stronger because of it. If your marriage is struggling, get help. Talk to a counselor, a therapist, a trusted mentor. Read books. Take courses. Do something other than just hoping it gets better on its own, because it won't. Problems don't fix themselves. They get worse until you address them. The 10th and final mistake, and this might be the most important one, is giving up when things get hard. Marriage is difficult. There will be seasons where you don't like your partner very much. There will be times when you question if you made the right choice. There will be moments when leaving seems easier than staying. And that's when most people quit. They hit the first major rough patch and decide the marriage is over. They convince themselves they're incompatible, that they deserve better, that love shouldn't be this hard. But here's what nobody tells you. Every marriage goes through hard seasons. Every single one. The difference between marriages that last and marriages that end isn't whether they face difficulties. It's whether both people are willing to push through those difficulties instead of running away. I've had moments in my marriage where I questioned everything, where I was tired, frustrated, and ready to give up. But I didn't. And I'm so grateful I didn't, because on the other side of those hard seasons were some of the best years of my life. The couples who make it aren't the ones who never struggle. They're the ones who struggle and choose to keep fighting anyway. So, if your marriage is hard right now, that doesn't mean it's over. It means you're in a difficult season. And seasons change, but only if you stick around long enough to see the change. Don't give up when things get tough. That's exactly when your marriage needs you to fight hardest. Look, I know this was a heavy video. I know some of these mistakes probably hit close to home. But recognizing your mistakes is the first step to fixing them. And if you can identify even one thing you're doing wrong and commit to changing it, you're already ahead of most couples. Marriage isn't easy. It requires constant work, honest self-reflection, and the willingness to admit when you're wrong. But it's worth it. A strong marriage is one of the most valuable things you'll ever build. So stop making these mistakes, start doing the work, and watch your relationship transform. If you want to learn more about building a relationship that actually lasts, then I'm going to leave that video right up there. But don't click on it just yet. Make sure to subscribe if you want to improve your life. Okay, I'll see you over there.